I'm really pleased to welcome Reverend Canon Ian Rutherford to the stage. He is a man of many hats and many roles, and he's going to tell us now about his work with Citizens UK in tackling homelessness.
Thank you very much, Laura. It's great to be here. What a fantastic conference we've had today. I'm the City Centre Minister at Methodist Central Hall in Manchester, and I'm also the co-chair of the National Leadership Team of Citizens UK. My talk is about improving the experiences of people in temporary accommodation, something that comes from a report that we launched earlier this year, A Long Way from Home. Just the next slide, please. Next slide as well. So we have 20 chapters across the UK. There is one here at Greater Manchester Citizens. We've already heard about Greenwich Citizens. And other parts, I think we've also heard about Bexley Citizens earlier this morning. We bring civil society together for community organising. We build relational power to make change. And we have a model called the 5 Steps to Social Change. And you'll see them on the screen. Organise, listen, plan, action, and negotiate. Each chapter is an alliance of faith groups, churches, synagogues, mosques, gurdwaras, temples, schools, universities, unions, health trusts, businesses, charities, and housing providers. And so what we do is organise in that chapter and then run a national listening campaign pre the election of last year to hear the issues that are affecting our member institutions. Housing and homelessness has always been coming up in those listening campaigns, and in particular, families in temporary accommodation. The voice of lived experience is at the heart of everything we do at Citizens UK, and we co-design all of our campaign asks and all of the actions that we undertake. So we've organised, we've listened, and then we plan together. So let me just take you through some of the things that we did in 2023, 2024. So next slide, please. We came up with our campaign. There are 3 strands to it. You'll see that the one on the left is the one that we're really interested in, ending child homelessness. Children are living in poor quality temporary accommodation without time limits being enforced, partly due to a massive shortage of affordable, decent housing. So our second ask is about unlocking the potential for that, and our third ask is to make sure that we've got a national upgrade strategy to make sure that we've got better homes. Next slide, please. We obviously had to plan that Citizens UK manifesto for the general election. We actually published it on the very day that Rishi Sunak came out of Downing Street and in the rain and told us that we were going to an election. So we were quite pleased that we were ahead of it. We had an open letter that we sent to all of the party leaders that was signed by many, many thousands of people across the country, and we had a draft manifesto ask, as you've seen before. Next slide. We had a national election assembly on the 1st of July at Methodist Central Hall in Westminster, and this is a picture of us bringing our manifesto to life. This right-hand margin, you'll see that Fatia, from Greenwich Citizens and also from Creating Ground, is standing next to me on stage, making her action plea to the then Deputy Leader of the Labour Party to make sure that we were putting forward our proposition. It was coming from Fatia at that particular time. We then had another time, next slide please, a housing action on Parliament Square where we put our asks to some councillors on the left and some MPs on the right. The whole thing was called TikTok, bring an end to temporary accommodation, time's running out. And then the next slide, please. We then brought our whole situation to the negotiation table. We're here in the MHCLG with the then Deputy Leader and then Secretary of State of Housing to make sure that Fatia, who's standing next to Angela Rayner on that photograph, was able to again make that same ask of her, that we did something really strong about temporary accommodation. We always have a mantra in Citizens that if you're not at the table, you're probably on the menu. And so obviously from this point of view, to be at the table and to say, we know that you as a government need to do more about temporary accommodation. She was able to tell us, for instance, that Florence Eshalomi was going to be able to run an inquiry in the Select Committee on temporary accommodation and also to be involved with the APPG on temporary accommodation, we felt that we needed to say to her, let's bring some research together across all of our chapters and bring this to you with some further asks in relation to this. And that's what the Long Way From Home report is all about. It's about making sure that we're campaigning together for the 5 basic standards that we all expect in our day-to-day lives. Cooking, laundry, Wi-Fi, storage, and clear information. And yet, families in TA are expected to cope without them, often for years at a time, which harms their well-being. Without these amenities, it's hard for families in temporary accommodation to function, stay healthy and connected, and to get their lives back on track. And so, in conjunction with Trust for London and with a researcher, Jack Shaw, we were able to launch this report in Parliament because we have friends at Shared Health and Just Life who run the APPG on temporary accommodation, and we were able to use the APPG as the place for that launch, and we were able to bring that directly to Siobhan McDonough, who is the chair of the APPG, and Florence Eshalomi came along to speak. Paula Barker was also there, who was on our stage today, and we were able to put directly to those politicians what we were saying about the 5 basics. I want to just move to the next slide and play you Fatia actually making that pitch at the launch event. So we'll hear this now, just for a moment.
We were told only 1 month ago that we have to move again. I felt the same sense of uncertainty I have felt so many times before. Where will we go? What will happen to the kids' schooling? Will we have to leave our community? I could barely sleep. I was so worried. I have tried to maintain some sense of stability by keeping the children at the same school, but now we have to travel over than 40 minutes to get there. These feelings of uncertainty and confusion don't just affect us as parents, they affect our children too. Childhood is temporary. My kids never had a stable home. It should disturb each one and every one of us that over 150,000 children in the UK are also having their childhood interrupted. As a leader at Creative Ground and South London Citizens, I have connected with other families suffering from poor conditions in temporary accommodation. Many of us lack basic necessities like cooking and laundry facilities, affordable storage for belongings we couldn't bring into temporary accommodation, and Wi-Fi access. This report is an important step forward, improving the lives of thousands of children and families like my own and other families. Our children deserve more than a roof over their heads. They deserve a home. It is time to turn these recommendations into action and give our children the opportunity to thrive.
There's nothing more powerful than testimony. And as well as hearing from Fatia, we heard from Fiona from Newham, who said that her family spend up to £900 a year just to wash and dry their clothes. Some families that she knows discourage their children from certain forms of play or from having messy food because they couldn't afford the cost of washing their clothing. We also heard from Kadia, a mum from South London. I have lived in temporary accommodation with my son. I kept spending lots of time outside in coffee shops to stay warm and to avoid my son getting dirty playing outside, as we had no laundry available. It was an absolute privilege to play that fantastic animation that you mentioned earlier, Sean, at the APPG, so that they could see what the children themselves were actually thinking. So Citizens UK brings the voice of lived experience right to the heart of government and to make sure that things are done about it. And so we were really pleased that on the 10th of October, World Homelessness Day, the government announced that £11 million to help families with children living in TA have access to basic facilities like Wi-Fi, laundry, travel passes for school and uniform, and help to pay for food and leisure activities. I finish with a quote from our Chief Executive, Matthew Bolton, and it's a call to arms for all of us to keep up this situation. We've heard about some action that's been taken, some funding that's coming to some councils, but we need to continue the push for the 5 basics for temporary accommodation to be in place. We welcome the government's investment to prevent homelessness, including the £11 million commitment to help families with children in temporary accommodation access the essentials they need to live with dignity. These are lifelines that give children a sense of stability and hope in the toughest of circumstances. Communities across the country have been calling for the 5 basics every family deserves: somewhere to cook, to wash clothes, to connect online, to store belongings safely, and to be kept informed. We look forward to working with national and local partners to make sure that these commitments reach every family in every community, so that dignity and stability are guaranteed by right, not granted by chance. Keep up, everybody. Let's keep going to make sure that everybody gets the 5 basics in temporary accommodation. Thank you.